In the last video we did with Cowden Solutions Investing, we talked about wholesaling, basically what it is and what's all involved in it. But now that you know how to wholesale, the video we're going to be doing today with PLUTUS Properties is going to be more diving into the specific math side of things. What goes into determining what you need to make offer-wise to buy in on this property to ensure that you and your investor both make a profit. It all boils down to a simple buy formula that all investors and wholesalers use alike, and that's called the 70% formula. Now, this formula varies from market to market, but I'm going to break it down in a very simple way, and I'm going to show you how you can incorporate it into the market that you're selling and buying at so that you can start making a profit and providing your investors with quality assets that they can then purchase off of you, and you can be a successful wholesaler. We're going to be talking about all of that and more in the video coming up. Calculating MAO on a property is very important. It's probably one of the most important steps to wholesaling any property because you first need to know, in order to acquire a contract, you first need to determine what your buy price is going to be. So in this video, we're going to be talking about that and breaking that down using the 70% formula. But first, in case we haven't met yet, my name is Caleb Cowden, owner of Cowden Solutions Investing LLC and PLUTUS Properties. And this channel is dedicated to giving you quality content on everything real estate, whether you be an investor flipper or a buy and hold investor or a wholesaler or real estate agent, whatever that may be. If any of these topics interest you, this channel is dedicated to giving you quality content on those topics so that we can accumulate wealth and live our dream lives the way we always intended to. All right, let's jump right in. MAO. MAO stands for Maximum Allowable Offer. You first need to determine your maximum allowable offer on a property so that you know what to buy in at in order for you to make money and your investor on the deal. It can all boil down to a very simple formula called the 70% formula. Every investor and wholesaler uses this formula, but there are two variations of it, and they vary slightly depending on which side of the coin you're on. Are you on the investing side? Or are you on the wholesaling side? The wholesaler's formula for the 70% formula is very simple, and it's ARV, which stands for the after repair value of the home, times 0.7 or times 70%, minus your rehab costs, the cost that it's going to take to make the house more valuable, the repairs that are have to go in it, minus your wholesale fee. That's for a wholesaler. Now, the other side of it, if you're the investor, it's not going to include the wholesale fee. It's going to be the same formula, just without accounting for the wholesale fee or the assignment fee. The reason being is because the investor is not concerned about paying a wholesaler to do it if he's going to do it himself. But you as a wholesaler need to include that wholesale or assignment fee in there because that's your profit. That's how you make money on the deal. If you don't account for that, you're not taking care of yourself and you're not going to be a very successful wholesaler because you're not going to make money. So with that being said, let's take an example. First off, ARV. What is ARV? After repaired value. After repaired value means after doing all the repairs and renovations that home needs to basically receive maximum value in the whatever market it's in, what goes into determining the ARV. You have to know what the ARV is so that way that you can know what you're going to buy in at. It's like forecasting the weather, just a little bit. And that might not be the best example, but I'll show you why I say that here in a second. So what goes into finding ARV? ARV, first off, you need to, if you have a house in a certain market or a certain neighborhood, first you need to find comparables. You need to find other properties that compare well to the one that you're looking at to determine what its value is going to be. So I would generally stick to a half a mile to a mile radius because market to market trends can change, within a couple blocks of each other. So you want to keep a tight radius on that to get accurate comps. What else goes into play with determining ARV is square footage. You want to make sure the square footage is pretty close to the property that you're comparing it to. I'd say generally within 250 to 300 square foot difference. So next that goes into it is bed to bath ratio. You want to make sure it has the same number of beds and bathrooms because properties that have more bathrooms and more bedrooms will sell for more than a property with less bedrooms and bathrooms. So that would not make a good comp. You want to determine next price per square foot, year built. There's a lot of things that go into, does it have a pool? Does it not have a pool? Things like that play huge roles in determining whether or not one property is going to make a good comp for the property that you're investigating. Once you determine all that, you need to gather at least 3 to 5 good comps that are very solid. And you're going to average those together, and the number that you come out with for price per square foot will give you your after repaired value. So once you have that after repaired value, then you're going to plug it into your formula. Let's do a quick example real quick. If you notice in the bottom of the screen, I'm going to list it out so that you can follow along. For this example, let's determine that the house that we're looking into that we think is going to be a good deal for our investors has an ARV on it. After we've done all the work, we've determined it has an ARV on it of about $300,000. So we're going to take that $300,000 and we're going to then plug it into our formula, ARV times 70% minus rehab costs minus our acquisitions fee or our wholesale fee. I'm sorry, assignment fee or wholesale fee. Tripping over my words here. So once we plug that in, we're going to multiply it by 70%. Now, why 70%? In a sense, you're taking 30% off the top automatically. The reason for doing so is that 30% accounts for the hidden costs that the investor is going to have to absorb when they purchase this property off of you. Those hidden costs are generally closing cost fees. Those account for about roughly 9% of ARV. They also account for carrying fees. Carrying fees is going to be basically cost of capital, and that accounts for about 5 to 6% of your ARV. And it also lastly covers profit, which usually is about 15% ARV. So that 30% needs to come out of there because you don't need to use that into the formula because it's going to basically be eaten away. That's going to be washed out. So that's why we use the 70% rule. Now keep in mind, this formula can vary from market to market, whereas 70% buy-in might work in one market, and in another market or another state, it might be using an 85% ARV or 85% of ARV, or it might be 83%, or it might be 60%. You need to do your research and determine what investors are buying properties for in your market. So don't just use the 70% rule across the board. But generally, the 70% rule is a safe middle. So you feel free to use that until you can either determine, have a realtor help you, or you can get it, pay to get the information from a data processing place or data processing company, stuff like that. That's how you can determine those. Look it up on the internet. But going to your local real estate office and talking to a broker is probably the best way to come by that information. So then once you have that information, in our example, we had an ARV of $300,000. Then we're going to multiply that by 70%. And that's going to give us about $210,000. Then we're going to take $210,000 and we're going to subtract the rehab costs. And let's say we've determined through our experience, or we talked to the investor and the investor's looked at the property and he says, I'm going to probably need to put about $25,000 into it in order to make it get maximum ARV. So then you're going to take $25,000 and you're going to subtract that from $210,000, which that's going to leave us with $185,000. And then the next part of the formula is accounting for your assignment fee so that you as a wholesaler can get paid on the deal. Then you need to ask yourself, what do I want to get paid on this property? I want to be paid $10,000. So then we subtract $10,000 from the $185,000, and that gives us a $175,000 MAO. That is our maximum allowable offer on this property. So if we're going to go into a negotiation on a property, cash buyers want a discount. They want a deal. You know that they're going to negotiate with you. It depends on how motivated the seller is. Their home is listed for $200,000. You know your maximum allowable offer is $175,000. That's not going to be the first offer that you throw out on the table. Because why? They're going to try to counter you. And you know you can't go any higher than $175,000. So you start low and work high. The idea is to get the seller to come down incrementally. Backwards, reversed thinking here. Correction. You want the seller to come down exponentially and you come up incrementally. So when you meet in the middle, it's either $175,000 or below. So if I was on this property trying to negotiate a deal, I would offer $165,000. That way it gives me $10,000 in negotiating room. Or I could even offer $155,000. You need to be careful not to make your offer too low or the seller won't even humor it. So I'd probably come in at $160,000 to $165,000. The seller's going to counter a few times, but let's say ultimately we land at $170,000. I know that that's $5,000 below what I wanted to make on this property because that's $5,000 below my MAO. You can either choose to give yourself an extra $5,000 because you got it $5,000 under your MAO, or you can give it your investor an even better discount. Basically, that's how it works. It's really simple. All it takes is knowing the math and applying it to whatever deal you're working with. So let's recap. Again, the buy-in formula is your after repair value times 70% or whatever number that fits the market that you're hunting in, minus repair costs or rehab costs, minus your wholesale fee. And that gives you your MAO or maximum allowable offer. Thanks guys, I hope that video was helpful. And please feel free to like and subscribe. If this video helped you in any way or was informative, be sure to give me a thumbs up on the video. I really do appreciate your support. It lets YouTube know that people are liking what we're putting out, and it helps us be able to put out more content like this in the future and keeping things going. Thank you and take care. We'll see you in the next one. See you again.